So, deep bow, sincere hello, and welcome to everyone who is here. We are officially starting our part 2 of our Buddha book club. We are reading through the book Flowers in the Dark, Healing Trauma, Reclaiming Our Power to Heal from Trauma through Mindfulness. So that is going to be the topic and the focus of our gathering together today. This is part 2 of our Buddha book club. So if you want to know about what we read in the first part, you are of course invited to watch the previous session. And some people are joining from different platforms. If you do intend to join us for most of this live session, or if you have any technical difficulties here on Discord, you're very encouraged and invited to hop over to the YouTube channel, and you'll be able to practice along with us and get the benefit from this wonderful practice, these teachings on trauma. So the book is, as I said, Flowers in the Dark, Reclaiming Our Power to Heal Trauma Through Mindfulness. So we're going to start our practice today with a few moments to get comfortable and get settled in and get grounded, kind of come home to our bodies, come home to our heart, come home to our breath. So go ahead and find a comfortable and stable meditation position. We're not going to do too much meditation, but it's really important to open ourselves up and to open our heart and kind of come home to this present moment if we want to get the benefits from these teachings, because they come from this place of deep presence, deep wisdom, deep compassion. So we also have to have a certain degree of depth to be opened to these teachings. So we can go ahead and find a comfortable, stable position for our bodies. Okay, especially comfortable, simple, stable. We can close our eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath and feel the life-giving breath flowing deeply into our lungs. Feel a sense of joy and appreciation that we are taking this time to give our attention to ourselves, our care, our love, our kindness to ourselves, to this body. Taking a deep breath in, bringing the mind home to the body. Just opening up to this moment and this experience exactly the way that it is, not needing to change it in any way, but just to show up fully at this moment and enjoy the breath. Enjoy the body that's here at this present moment. So at this time we can open our eyes if they're closed, or we can keep them closed if we like. And we're going to continue on with our reading of Flowers in the Dark. We started this book by going over A little bit of background about the author, the teacher in this text, Sister Dang Nghiem, who was a refugee from Vietnam after the war and made her way suffered some early childhood abuse and made her way into a successful career of being a medical doctor here in America, lost her husband, and took refuge to the Thich Nhat Hanh Sangha of Mindfulness, became a nun, and actively worked to heal her trauma and was successful in doing that. And so this book is kind of her teachings directly on this topic of healing from trauma through mindfulness meditation. So continuing on, meditation as a daily source of nourishment. Since becoming a nun, I have found ways of generating healing for the pain I encountered in my life before ordaining. Together with the understanding of how the brain processes trauma, the Buddhist approach to suffering can bring vitality back to frozen areas of the body and the mind with practices for increasing awareness of the body and mind. You might think that meditation is a process of constantly confronting and combating your suffering and pain. But trauma survivor or not, it is important for us to find peace, joy, and happiness in the practice. In fact, the joy of meditation is a necessary daily nourishment to the spiritual practitioner. Most of the time, we meditate simply to enjoy being fully alive. And we sit simply to enjoy our sitting and breathing with a relaxed body. The way a gardener enjoys planting seeds, watering flowers, and marveling at their intricacies and subtleties. Meditation is to be present for life, which is here and now. Meditation is to see clearly into something, and thus we gain deep insight into our happiness and suffering. Meditation is to bring light into something. That's why we use the word enlightenment, so that the layers of harmful perceptions and old views can be sloughed off and the barriers removed. That is why we use the word enlightenment. We are opening our eyes and waking up to the way things are. In this book, you will learn some simple but powerful meditations for trauma, which will guide you to apply mindfulness to your suffering and gain insights that can heal both body and mind. Meditation is a process of self-discovery, but it must be grounded in genuine self-love for it to be healing. Ultimately, combined with the other elements of the path, meditation should help you establish peace in your mind and body. It is a way out of suffering. So meditation as a way out of suffering. A word of caution. If you have experienced post-traumatic stress, please proceed slowly to avoid re-triggering trauma. With the right guidance, mindfulness increases survivors' sense of safety and stability in daily life, as well as in challenging moments. As you have consciously chosen to read this book, I know that you are committed to your healing. But please be gentle with yourself. Never push yourself. I am not prescribing practices to be followed without questioning. If any of them feel unhelpful or uncomfortable, don't make yourself do them. Your first priority is to feel safe and take care of yourself. While the chapters follow a sequence, it is absolutely fine to skip a practice or let a practice go, to return to later if you wish, or conclude it is not for you. You will still benefit from the other practices. This approach to healing is not a linear process. Thich Nhat Hanh found that focused seated meditation was not always the most effective method of bringing mindfulness when his mind was very agitated. And thus he taught the practice of walking meditation and many other ways of applying mindfulness to daily life. We can take his guidance and try walking instead of sitting with many of the meditations in this book. Being a soulmate to ourselves. In Vietnamese families, by tradition, people do not usually say they love each other, believing that actions should speak louder than words. As a result, I cannot remember that my grandmother or my mother ever told me that they loved me. Still, the need to be told I love you was alive in me throughout my life, and I constantly searched for it in acknowledgement, attention, and affection from friends and boyfriends. In my monastic life one day, while I was learning some Chinese characters, I discovered that the characters for soulmate literally mean to remember, to know, and to master oneself. This has been one of my most propitious enlightenments. So kind of propitious, supportive, helpful, good luck, quite helpful enlightenments or realizations. Directing my acknowledgement, attention, and affection towards myself and not waiting for or expecting anyone else to tell me I am loved. I have learned to tell myself I love you numerous times a day. Maybe we can try this exercise for just a moment before we continue. We can tell ourselves, I love you. So take a moment to tell yourself, I love you. Self-love, to me, is every moment that we are mindful of our body, of our thoughts, of our feelings, breathing with what is arising without grasping or aversion. It is self-acceptance in practice. In fact, every moment that we are mindful of ourselves and of what is going on in us, we are meeting with ourselves as a soulmate. Every mindfulness practice discussed in this book enables us to realize this unconditional self-love. I'll read this last paragraph again, and then we can see if anyone wants to share or discuss anything about this. Self-love to me is every moment that we are mindful of our body, of our thoughts, of our feelings, breathing with what is arising without grasping or aversion. It is self-acceptance in practice. In fact, every moment that we are mindful of ourselves and of what is going on in us, we are meeting with ourselves as a soulmate. Every mindfulness practice discussed in this book enables us to realize this unconditional self-love. Anyone to share or ask a question? Anything stands out to you? Someone did ask about what page we're on. Because I'm using a Kindle, I can't say what page exactly we're on, but we're just a few pages in. Anyone have a thought, something to share?
Yeah, I really like the idea of saying "I love you" to yourself. I don't think we're conscious of it. That we don't do that enough. So that pretty much stood out for me.
Pointing to that practice of saying I love you to yourself. Um, Dylan says over on YouTube, Dylan says, what stands out to me is unconditional. It's hard to forgive yourself sometimes. So maybe like the unconditional aspect of saying I love you to yourself unconditionally. And Robert Lynch says, I believe I do love myself, LOL, but when you say it to yourself in meditation, it's really strong. Thank you, Robert.
Yeah, I think that's the first time I've ever told myself that I love me.
First time that you ever say I love you to yourself. Okay. And Bobby says we're on page 16 in the book, if you have the book in front of you. Nat on YouTube says, loving yourself means listening to yourself and your body and making choices that provide care instead of empty gratification. Thank you, Nat. That's wonderful. Loving yourself means listening to yourself and your body and making choices that provide care instead of empty gratification. Thank you.
I found myself feeling unexpectedly hesitant in saying it. I think that I don't really think about my relationship with myself or self-perception as much as I really should, and probably need to work on that. It really emphasized that for me.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that, Samantha.
Hi. When I say I love me, if I'm looking in the mirror, I can kind of grasp what that means, but like just saying it now or in meditation, uh, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out. It doesn't feel real. unless I'm looking at myself. Because then I'm wondering, well, who is it that I love? Like, there's so many different aspects to me. Some of them I love, some of them I don't. So, I'm still figuring that out.
Thank you, Aaliyah. Okay, we have one comment from Native Wisdom. Native Wisdom says, growing up culturally, I love you wasn't commonly said. I was told I was dumb, stupid a lot. I resonated with this so much. The past few months, I have been working on being my own best friend, no negative self-talk, and it's been a month since I have told myself I'm stupid. Saying I love me out loud was actually tough, but great to think about over the coming days. Thank you so much for sharing that, Native Wisdom. Yeah, I will say maybe for a lot of us, to say I love you is strange and odd, but to insult ourselves or to be rough with ourselves or judgmental with ourselves is kind of easy to do, easy to understand. So to turn that on its head might be really impactful. And Anna says, it's hard to say I love you to myself because there's a thought at the back of the head saying, no, you don't. Okay. So a lot of words kind of coming up that kind of point to, for me, it feels like point to the value, the power of showing up towards ourselves in this way, that actually there really is a great need for it. And that the power of that thought, or just the power of approaching ourselves in that way, if we can do it or not, or if we're familiar with it or not, isn't sure, but the power of it that goes along with kind of pointing out or expressing from our sincerity in that way seems to be very alive for everybody, very clear for everyone, that there is a real oomph to showing up to yourself in that way, but maybe it's not quite clear how to do that, or how to develop a familiarization with using thought in that way. And also to just to bring attention to the last paragraph before we move on, about this loving oneself. So in my monastic life one day, Sister Dang Nghiem recounts, while I was learning some Chinese characters, I discovered that the characters for soulmate literally mean to remember, to know, and to master oneself. This has been one of my most propitious enlightenments, or maybe supportive, kind of conducive, helpful realizations. Directing my acknowledgement, attention, and affection towards myself, and not waiting for or expecting anyone else to tell me I am loved. I have learned to tell myself I love you numerous times a day. And then Sister Dang Nghiem goes on to say what self-love is to her. So, self-love to me is every moment that we are mindful of our body, of our thoughts, of our feelings, breathing with what is arising without grasping or aversion. It is self-acceptance in practice. In fact, every moment that we are mindful of ourselves and of what is going on in us, we are meeting with ourselves as a soulmate. Every mindfulness practice discussed in this book enables us to realize this unconditional self-love. Practice. Make a time and space for healing. Whether or not we have sympathetic supporters for our healing, we always have ourselves. We can be our own soulmate. Choose a place and time to be with yourself and reflect on healing for just 15 minutes daily. Meditation instruction will come later. But for now, just think of finding time in your day. Sometimes it is helpful to reserve time for reflection at the beginning or the end of each day, on waking or when going to bed. Think of it as an appointment with your soulmate. You may like to sit up to reflect in a special place, like in front of an altar, or you may like to lay down and relax. You may like to stand under a tree, or as I mentioned earlier, to take a regular walk outdoors. In a retreat in the Plum Village tradition, we create time for meditation in all 4 of these postures: sitting meditation, deep relaxation, standing meditation, and walking meditation. Think about how you would like to practice. So we can think for a moment, not so much about finding like this meditation schedule in our lives or this meditation practice that we want to do each day, but kind of consider about taking 15 minutes daily as a time to be with yourself and reflect on healing. And maybe we can just take a moment to think about this and consider about how we would like to take that 15 minutes, how we could find a time for that every day to reflect and to heal, to reflect on that healing. Maybe to go for a walk, or just to take a period of complete relaxation, completely letting go, completely opening up. What could those 15 minutes a day be for you? Find a notebook to write in and keep it by your bedside or on your desk. Or if writing is difficult, you might find an app on your phone in which you can record your voice, which then transcribes your words for you to read at a later date. Your writing may take place as a journal, a poem, or a story, whichever form is most fluid for you at the moment. Bringing poetry and music into your practice can infuse your being with joy, lightness, and mindfulness. Let yourself create freely without the need for form or appraisal. This is time for yourself, these 15 minutes that we can try to find each day. Especially as we're going through this book club, you can really consider to find those 15 minutes each day. And I'll just add, one of the practices that this Plum Village tradition, this Buddhist group, this monk group that Sister Dang Nghiem is a part of, the nun who wrote this book, they like to sing songs. And there's a playlist that I'll share with everyone of some of their songs. I really like to share this playlist because it's quite wonderful to have the music to listen to that is not at all kind of wrapped up in the I don't know, the kind of selfish focused themes that a lot of music is wrapped up in. So I will share that on the YouTube really quick so you can make a note of this. Of course, I'll share it on the Discord in the Buddha Book Club channel. Don't listen to it now, but I'll share it now. So that's one of the ways that you could spend your 15 minutes. Okay. Bringing poetry and music into your practice can infuse your being with joy, lightness, and mindfulness. Let yourself create freely without the need for form or appraisal. This is time for yourself. Set an intention for healing during this special time in your day, when you will practice self-love and self-reflection. Identify who in your family or circle of friends may be safe to share with in a one-on-one conversation. If there is no one with whom you feel safe, don't feel alone. Many survivors are in this position. This is just an indication that you may need to look outside of your current community for support and companionship on the path. In this case, consider joining a group dedicated to healing from trauma. Your Sangha, the Buddhist word for spiritual community, is also a wonderful source of support. The collective energy of practitioners can help us gradually feel safe in ourselves and in the presence of others. This is essential to our healing. See the selected resources section on this page to find a group or Sangha. So we can also share this on the Discord, but the Plum Village tradition, Cassiana will be able to inform us about that as well. But there's a search engine that you can use to try and find a community in your area for healing. And of course, this is something that we are doing and we are practicing together as a group like that. But you can also take further steps to find a in-person group in your area. So Sister Dang Nghiem wanted to share that resource with us. And we'll have that available later on, so you can come back and look at that. So maybe, does anyone, just before we continue, does anyone have any kind of sparks, unique ideas that came to their mind when it came to not necessarily meditating for 15 minutes, but finding this 15 minutes for reflection and healing in a lovely way? Does anyone have any ideas that came up for them to do that? You can consider to share, as it may inspire someone else to have a way for them to do that, because it can be quite difficult to find that reflective practice in our life. Go ahead, Bree.
I would like to share a bath time is a good 15-minute healing time for me. That's what I use.
I can second that. The bath is a wonderful tool, and for you showerers, or for the people who may not have the privilege of a bath, I recommend a shower in the dark, and you can sit on your shower floor. I also find that to be a lovely kind of reflective time if you don't have a bathtub. Anyone else have other ideas about this?
Yes, I think it helps if you make it a routine, just how you wake up in the morning and have a cup of coffee. If you wake up and have a meditation, I have here a setup that really helps me. Like I have a cushion I'm sitting in on a yoga mat. I have a little altar. And every morning my brain knows when it smells the nakchampa and I sit on the pillow, it's just like having this ritual really helps me to just do it. Just how I wake up in the morning and have my cup of coffee. I put the incense on, I sit on the pillow, and it just because I have a designated place for meditation and I do it in the morning, I finally was able to. I wanted to meditate for years, but now I was finally able to have a practice.
Thank you, Kasiana. Anyone else?
Hi. So I also have a practice in my bedroom near the window. I have also an altar set up and a chair that I sit in every morning before I get out of bed. I usually clean up first, and then I get back in bed and do about 30 minutes. And I can't move without doing that. It becomes a routine, like the young lady said. So my body just knows that's what to do. And then when I go to bed, before I go to sleep, I do about maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Anyone have some ideas that maybe are more not so meditative necessarily, but maybe more creative, unexpected ideas of ways to do this? 15 minutes of reflective kind of healing practice.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I used to do this a lot more, um, and I should start doing it again, but a way you could do the 15 minutes is I used to do mantras for a pretty long time, and I do different kinds, um, and they really help to make me feel like better afterwards. Like even one of them would be like, I love myself, I love my family, I love my earth, or I love my world, something like that. Just over and over and over and over again until it becomes like a meditative, hypnotic kind of thing. And then, and then I would just do different ones to make to make I don't know, my soul feel better, I guess. And it always made me feel better after. So that's also a way that you could practice loving yourself if you're not used to it yet. You could do mantras and it gets better every time you start saying it. So that's all I got. Thank you.
I just want to share one more thing. This is an emotional support animal. She's wagging her tail. She's happy to be here. So if you can get an emotional support animal, I just 10 out of 10. Or just spend time in nature or spend time with animals. I think it's so therapeutical.
So spending time in nature and spending time with animals. Great. And drawing is a kind of diarying. Drawing is a kind of diarying. Thank you, Anna. Anything else you wanted to share?
I was actually going to suggest something as easy as sitting down and journaling, because it's a way to sort of empty the mind of a lot of thoughts and be able to just kind of transfer them onto a piece of paper and think of them as kind of being able to leave the mind and get rid of it. My partner and I also, we tend to write each other text messages throughout the day. If you have somebody to text with, to share something maybe that comes to mind that you just want to kind of get off your chest, or open up, a conversation.
Wonderful. Thank you all for sharing.
I'd like to add something, and
Yeah.
it's kind of similar to what Eric was talking about. But in the morning, one of the first things that I do is I sit with myself and I have a journal, and I actually list 10 things that I'm thankful for, or 10 things that I'm grateful for. Or I list, I just say, thank you to my lungs for breathing air, or I will say thank you, to my feet for carrying me where I need to go. And it helps me be more appreciative of my body and of myself. And it's a way that I show myself self love and gratitude for myself and my body.
I tend to write, although there are days that it's so hard, so I cannot put words on the paper. So I allow me to just dawdle, and I dawdle for a couple minutes until I feel like I'm done. Sometimes words are just not enough to practice the self-reflection, so drawing helps me a lot.
Thank you. Okay. Can continue on with our reading. A lot of good ideas there for these 15 reflective moments. And a few words over on YouTube before we go. Michelle Walker says nature walking. Loretta sitting on the sand. Also sitting by Lake Michigan. Sitting by the water anytime is nice for reflection. Listening to the trees, to the leaves rattling and birds chirping. Maybe driving solo after work, so the 15 minutes after work as a time for on the drive home is a kind of reflection period. Aaron says, I have 2 kids, very high maintenance. I sit in my car sometimes for 10 minutes waiting in school pickup line and put a meditation on, and at night for 15 to 30 minutes. Great. Dylan says, while cooking, it doubles as being kind to your body, so like a mindfulness cooking. Luck of the Twin says, driving without music. Missy says, I am beautiful inside and out, but it's difficult because I don't always feel inside or look on the outside that way when my mind and body are fighting each other. Gemma says, usually waiting for a local bus. The time spent complaining to myself can be spent on introspection, reflection, and loving the self. Michelle Walker also shares chanting. Sometimes, so we had one person saying keeping the music off on the drive home, and then someone says, blaring awesome music is cathartic for my soul. Someone else mentioned singing, dancing and looking for rocks by the river. Kanagawati said singing, and Ismay Toby also said maybe taking pictures. And they also said TikTok with a laugh emoji. I don't think TikTok will be the place to do your deepest reflections, but it's all about the intention and the sincerity. So maybe it can work. Sonia, did you want to share something?
Oh, but there's a lot of very nice ideas.
There are a lot of very nice ideas here. And I can also add, I found some singing, they say monks don't sing, but the Plum Village songs tend to be very mindful based and compassion based, and I found that it can be very nice to sing along with those songs. So yeah, so many different ways for this kind of self-love, reflective experience. All right, so let's continue with our reading. And we left off with kind of, seeking out community to help us feel safe in our life. And if we don't have community, if we don't have the resources for people that we feel we can be safe with and intimate with and can communicate with in that way, seek out community, seek out Sangha, spiritual community. We're lucky enough to be in one as we read this and as we look at this, so we can enjoy that as well. Sharing our experience. Recording, sharing, and writing about our experience is an invaluable tool for reflection. When we acknowledge what's going on and we write it down, the act of recording in itself can be therapeutic, helping us get our troubles, quote unquote, off our chest so that they can be seen and understood. Since ordaining as a nun, I myself have kept a journal on and off for many years. Something that just came to my mind about this. When I sometimes feel that I have a lot on my plate or a lot of, something that I need to get out of my chest, sometimes it's like I feel like I need to get help from someone. And it's like I reach out to them to get something off my chest and then ask them for help, guidance. But I'm having kind of a feeling right now that sometimes it's just the getting off the chest that really opens it up, and that I don't necessarily need for them to tell me what to do or to fix my problem, but I just need to get it off my chest with someone that I really trust and feel can receive what I have to share. And so it's coming to my mind that now it's possible to do that for myself through recording, through writing down, through putting those things into paper or recording, that I could even do that for myself. So just to share that. So the act of recording in itself can be therapeutic, helping us get our troubles off our chest so that they can then be seen and understood. Since ordaining as a nun, I myself have kept a journal on and off for many years. When it comes to sharing with others, we may have trusted family members or friends, or we may have a relationship with a counselor or therapist whom we trust, who can help guide us and reflect our process back to us. However, many people with trauma do not have understanding friends or access to therapy. We may bravely try to share our experience with those around us, but find our suffering compounded rather than relieved. I think also sometimes we have to be careful about to the degree that we share. It can confuse other people. It can upset other people if we share too deeply in a certain way. I've experienced that. I caution those of us who, driven by the need to share, may share indiscriminately, because some of our listeners may not be able to be empathetic at that moment, to listen to us or understand us, much less help us. If that is the case, we may put ourselves out there in a vulnerable position, while also watering the seed of suffering in us. We may force ourselves to relive our abuse and suffer in doing so. We may re-traumatize ourselves Therefore, it is essential to remember why we share. It is for the sake of our own healing. We need to be aware of our surroundings and of the holding capacity in the people we entrust with our stories. This is really important teaching, really deep teaching. There tends to be two extremes when it comes to talking unskillfully about trauma. One is that we completely don't talk about it, don't write about it, and don't acknowledge it, even to ourselves. It's a way of trying to not allow it to exist. If we deny the existence of our trauma, we control it, or so we think. The other extreme is that sometimes we share about it a lot, write about it a lot, to the point that we may notice that we are neglecting other aspects of our lives. We become self-identified with our trauma and relate everything to it. We must question our own intention at these times and watch our own energy. Denying and suppressing our suffering is unhealthy, but the other end of the spectrum, if we are not aware, can become a way of watering the seeds of suffering. Choose your listeners wisely, because the quality of their attention will affect your experience. I can say that one of my big coming home moments in terms of Sangha, in terms of spiritual community, was being able to share a trauma, to share a shameful experience, to share something that was very raw for me with someone, and to be completely loved, completely accepted, completely seen, completely heard. And so for anyone here with trauma or those really difficult experiences, memories, those things that we wouldn't just share, there are people out there who can receive that and love you and accept you and see through that to the real you, to the true you. And that's somewhat one of the real joys of Sangha, of this kind of community. This community of sincere, well-minded people on the path, compassionate people. And that this process of healing and this compassion and this joy and this peace can be trained, can be developed more and more. So we need to be careful about how we share our trauma with people who might not be trained, might not be able to receive it, because their listening, their quality of listening will affect us. So be careful. Sharing one story with another person is a sacred experience and requires a correspondingly respectful listening ear. In the Plum Village monasteries, speaking from the heart and non-judgmental deep listening have become a core part of our mindfulness practice. However painful it may be, such sharing can become our teacher, helping us to deepen our humanity, our love, our understanding for ourselves and others. So we share with respect in a space that is safe and healing for both the speaker, the person who shares, and the listeners. It is important to hold the subject with respect and appropriateness. So, when I share about sexual abuse, I don't share with just anybody. Now, as a monastic practitioner and a Dharma teacher, I share when I feel that my experience or insight can benefit others. Now I share not out of the need to heal myself, but because I know the practices that helped me to hold whatever I'm speaking about and to heal it. I speak to help others through this journey, to make it easier for them and to encourage them to feel hopeful. My intention is to help make this happen for other people, because it is totally possible to heal on the spiritual journey if we receive good guidance and concrete practices. So we can take a moment to come home to our breath. In the Plum Village tradition that Sister Dang Nghiem, our teacher for this Buddha book club, is in, they have a practice with the mindfulness bell. And Cassiana, maybe you can try to ring the mindfulness bell for us.
I can try to ring it,
Yes.
but I have to while I ring it because Discord mutes the background noise.
So just kind of bring it close and give it a ring and it'll be okay. We'll hear it. Yeah.
Was it muted? I meditation. Whenever.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
We didn't hear.
No, you need to
Say a mantra. I will say arrived, I am home as I ring the bell, and then the sound of the bell will also get to all of you.
Okay, go ahead.
I have arrived. I am home.
So just a few moments to find the breath and the body in I am arrived. I am home. Okay, so we will read one more section here, and then we'll see if anything comes up. We'll spend a little bit of time together sitting, and that will be our club meeting for today, all right? Hungry ghosts. In the Buddhist tradition, we use the image of the hungry ghost to describe beings who are condemned to wander in a hell realm, unable to satisfy their emotional needs. Have you ever seen a drawing of a hungry ghost? Or have you perhaps seen a hungry ghost in real life? We have many hungry ghosts walking around in our society. We're now going to, Sister Dang Nghiem, going to describe this imagery of this kind of archetype of a hungry ghost as we depict it in Buddhist psychology, we can say. A hungry ghost is a being with a throat that is needle thin and a belly that is gravely extended. There is a feast in front of the hungry ghost, but because of its narrow neck, it cannot take in any nourishment. It also keeps everything inside, all bottled up. Early in my life, my monastic life, I recognized myself as a hungry ghost. Sometimes when I found it difficult to breathe because of strong emotions rising in me, I would put my hand on my throat and breathe, visualizing my throat gradually opening. I'd tell myself, just breathe. It's okay. I love you. Everything is okay. I'm still here. These simple statements have become my cherished mantras, effectively calming my nervous system and helping me to be kinder to myself and feel safe in my mind and body. Okay, so in our practice of mindfulness and healing trauma together in our Buddha Book Club, we'll kind of wrap up this session together with a few moments of sitting together and to use this mantra, that Sister Dang Nghiem used early on in her, her practice life, her becoming a monastic, to develop. Use this mantra to empower and engender our own practice. So I invite you now to you can put your hand on your neck as Sister Dang Nghiem did, or you can also put your hand over your heart if you feel that that's more comfortable for you. And finding the breath as this real source of mindfulness and this source of healing. So finding the breath right now, breathing in and bringing that attention and that care, that healing to our body, that presence to our body at this moment. Just aware of our body sitting here and breathing with our hand on our heart or possibly on our neck. We can visualize our throat opening so that our lungs is more, that pathway is more open. We can maybe also visualize the heart, maybe the warmth of the heart, the opening of the heart as well. And we can repeat these phrases to ourselves. So you can repeat after me with these phrases. Just breathe. It's okay. I love you. Everything is okay. I am still here. Just breathe. It's okay. I love you. Everything is okay. I am still here. So at this time, everyone's invited to bring their hand over their heart. And you may be able to notice the beating of your heart, the feeling of your heart right here. And we will repeat a few phrases of metta, a few phrases of loving kindness together, first towards ourselves and then towards all beings. So you can repeat after me. May I be happy and safe. May I be free from worry or fear. May my breath be a source of joy and healing. May my breath be a source of joy and healing. May this joy and healing spread out in all directions. May all directions support this joy and healing. So let's all bring our hands together, and to close we will chant sadhu together 3 times. This Buddhist word sadhu has the meaning of well done, wonderful, excellent, and what could be more wonderful, what could be more excellent than our intention to heal. Welcome to chant along with me. Sadhu. 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 And we can all make a deep bow to each other, to our own practice, and especially to Sister Dang Nghiem for sharing these wonderful teachings with us. Okay, so we will try to keep these Buddha book clubs to 1 hour so that they can be kind of contained and accessible for everyone and no one feels kind of locked in for too long. But after we close these sessions, please feel free to hang around to discuss, to communicate, kind of a post-book club gathering as you like. You don't need to rush off immediately. We'll continue to have our Buddha book club Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at this time. And we'll meet every day together at this time for the next couple weeks as well, for meditation, for gatherings. Okay? Thank you all for being here. I appreciate all of you very much. And we all can be thankful for the people joining on YouTube as well. You're also here with us. Okay? Take care, everyone. Goodbye. On YouTube, don't forget to like, okay? You can express your generosity with a like. Don't be shy to give a like. And the TikTokers, make sure that you join on YouTube, okay? So if you want to really follow along with our book club Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, TikTok is possible to watch through there, but we'd love to have you over on the Discord or watching through YouTube. It's a more safe, controlled environment, and we'd love to have you to join us through YouTube. And yeah, thank you all for being here, wherever you watch from. And a special thank you